What's up, guys? Welcome to the Rocky and Derrick Show. Today we're in Winston-Salem at the Winston-Salem Cup Museum. Hey guys, welcome back to another amazing interview with the Rocky and Derrick Show. Today, we're here at the Winston Cup Museum with
Will Spencer.
Who does?
I'm president and CEO of JKS Motorsports and the owner of the Winston Cup Museum, along with my wife, Christy. Right there, the balls.
What is JKS Motorsports?
JKS Motorsports does the promotions with NASCAR to facilitate their at-track promotions and away from the track promotions, from show cars to displays to anything that's related to promoting a product within NASCAR.
So, how did this all start? Why did you want to make a museum?
Back in the 80s, I started with RJ Reynolds Tobacco Company. That was the series sponsor, and it was called the Winston Cup Series. We did their support series sponsorship from 1984 through 2003. Through the period of that time, Reynolds was involved in NHRA as well as the Winston Racing Series, which was the second tier to the Winston Cup Series, and a lot of other different brand type promotions. So in 2003, Reynolds ceased their sports marketing sponsorships with their brands, and I had collected a few cars through the years and a lot of memorabilia. So in 2005, I opened the museum in May, and basically it was a gift to the city of Winston-Salem and a thank you to RJ Reynolds for all of what they had done with JKS for almost 25 years.
Have you ever raced before?
I've never raced in competition, but I do like to drive a race car. When I was starting out in the 80s, a real good friend of mine, Ed Barrier, was a driver and had driven in the Grand National Series, or it was called the Baby Grand, and then drove in the Busch Series. And with that, with what we were doing in NASCAR, we raced ourselves. So we raced 299 times in the Truck Series, the Busch Series, and the Cup Series, and a few ARCA races over a 30-year span.
So how do you get the car? Do you buy them?
Well, a lot of them, depending on where or when or how or what the promotion was. A lot of cars that were retired race cars ended up being show cars, or they were special event type cars that we built to support whatever the sponsor needed. And the cars aged out. So as they aged out, I had a warehouse, and I'd always tell everybody, just take it to the warehouse, I'm gonna do a museum one day. So the museum collectively has over 40 cars. I tried to count them the other day. I think there's about 46 that are related to the Winston Cup Museum. A lot of them were friends of mine and still friends of mine. We have 3 cars that are related to Dale Earnhardt Sr. We have 2 cars that are related to Dale Earnhardt Jr., Bobby Labonte, Kyle Petty, Harry Gant, Davey Allison, Ed Barrier, Darrell Waltrips. They go on and on. So the specifics of the cars kind of collectively support the history. So the mural in the museum is 250 feet long, and it starts in 1971 and ends in 2003. That supports, I guess, the imagery of Reynolds' sponsorship for that 33 years here at the museum.
What is the oldest car you have here?
Probably the oldest car that's in the museum is Wendell Scott's car. Right there, it's as it was wrecked in the Winston 500 in 1973. It's a 70 Cyclone, Mercury Cyclone, and it was built by a gentleman named James Hammer Mason out of Dearborn, Michigan, and the name of his company was Dearborn Steel and Tubing. And Wendell bought that car from him in 73, and it was his first race at Talladega for Wendell. Well, not for Wendell, but for that car. And they started 60 cars. Bill France, decided that he was going to have 60 cars instead of the normal 43 cars that pretty much consisted over the 33 years for Reynolds. And there was an 18-car pileup, and Wendell was part of the 18 cars. So Wendell's from Danville, Virginia, and he ran over 500 races in NASCAR with very limited sponsorship. He was really good friends with the Wood brothers, and the Wood brothers had loaned him a motor to run that race because Wendell built his own motors at his shop in Danville. And fortunately, I was able to get the Mercury and his 1955 Dodge with a DeSoto Hemi truck that he used to drive to the racetrack, and they said that he was always running late and running 100 miles an hour with his race car on the back of the truck. So it's a really cool addition to what we have in the history that Wendell brought to the sport.
Have you ever participated in the Winston Cup?
I've participated as a car owner, but I never participated as a driver. Somebody had to be the brains of the operation. Somebody had to be the brains behind the wheel, and both of us couldn't do the same thing. So Ed drove, and I always told Eddie, I'll find us a sponsor by Saturday. And we raced, like I said earlier, 299 races together.
Which one of these cars is your favorite car?
I think they're all. They all have a significant history to the sport. I can't really say that one is more favorable than the other. The Winston Dodge Daytona out in the front lobby, and we can definitely go look at it. It has a big history. It was built by Richard Petty for Dave Marcus. It was a super speedway car. It has a 426 Hemi in it, and it runs, and it's fun to drive. I do drive it when I get a chance. But when Reynolds decided to get out of the sports marketing branding for Winston in 2003, it's a 71 Dodge Daytona, and it had been in the warehouse for a decade. And we had used it for Goody's headache powders. It was a Goody's show car, and it used to be blue. So what I decided was the series started in 1971 and it ended in 2003. So we revamped the car, got it running, and we had Richard Petty drive it at Miami Homestead to end the 33-year series sponsorship for Reynolds.
What type of training do you have to go through to be a race car driver?
I think, when the sport started, it was, like Wendell Scott and Junior Johnson. Their training was on the dirt roads of the backwoods hauling moonshine. And as it progressed with the short tracks, like Harry Gant and Terry Labonte and a lot of the drivers, they started with the small track series, which was at that time called the Winston Racing Series. So you progressed as you were able to find sponsorship and people like me that would put the money in to build a car to go race.
How did you get these trophies?
So as the years went by in that 33-year period, a lot of the trophies we would make 3 trophies, one for the car owner for the championship, one for the driver, and then there was one that was always extra. So we have about 9 trophies total that were the series championship trophies, and then the perpetual trophy pretty much starts when NASCAR started in the 50s up until 2003, and it has all the champions of each year on it. That trophy actually sat at the Reynolds building and was on display during their series sponsorship for that 33 years, and it was donated to the museum by R.J. Reynolds.
Why do race cars have no lights and no doors?
Well, that's a good question. But we don't race at night, so we have decals that look like headlights, and the doors, behind the doors or whatever, each car has a roll cage that consists of, basically, in the 70s they called it, when you built a race car, you would get a car or part of a car pretty much from the windshield back, and they called it a body in white. And the Mercury over there in the 71 Dodge in the front lobby, those cars were built pretty much from a factory car, and then the doors and the sheet metal and everything, you built a roll cage, and then the doors and everything were welded shut, or the sheet metal was welded and finished. Now when we hang a body on a car, it's they're not, they call them stock cars. So like a Monte Carlo, an 84 Monte Carlo was pretty much all the body parts off of a factory car. Today the cars are, like a Taurus, they don't make a 2-door car like the one behind us. They didn't make a 2-door car, so NASCAR, through development with Ford or GM or Dodge, they would develop a car that was similar to an 80s model stock car, but it was in the 2000 period where they changed completely to where you didn't have a stock car that you could go buy at the dealership, because I always said, what won on Sunday sold on Monday.
Do you like all cars, or is it just race cars?
As my wife would say, I hope I'm not a hoarder, but I think I like cars with history. I have a lot of family cars. I have a lot of cars that I think are unique as far as street cars, and then the race cars. I'm very fortunate that I can take these cars. We ship them to England or wherever all over the world and be able to drive and participate. So I think it's it's kind of like a hat. It depends on what day it is, what car you drive.
What is the fastest you've ever gone in a race car?
3 weeks ago, 180 miles an hour at Goodwood members meeting in England, and that'll get your blood running for sure on a road course. If I had a current road course NASCAR on the back stretch, probably could have run 200 miles an hour. So yeah, it's good.
Who is your favorite racer of all time?
I think that you have to take each driver in that period of that 33 years. You had Dale Earnhardt Sr., which was, named the Intimidator. You had Jimmy Spencer that, drove, that had a completely different personality than Darrell Waltrip. So I think that it's each individual driver for what they were able to bring to the sport. Harry Gant got the name Mr. September because he won 4 races in the month of September. Dale Earnhardt Sr. won 7 championships, and still today is, it's tied with current drivers. You've got so many people that brought so much personality. You had Benny Parsons and Cale Yarborough and these drivers that were Southern drivers that gave so much of what they did. They drove because they loved it, and they were able to create that individual personality like Rusty Wallace. The list goes on, and that's what the mural here pretty much displays, is the personalities of the times. And I can pick up for me in what I did with Reynolds from about 1983 forward. So I was very fortunate that the personalities that had drove prior to that were still driving. Richard Petty, you had the Silver Fox. So there were so many drivers that emulated what the current drivers through that 33 years, everyone knew, you had to have that rivalry. So like Dale Earnhardt Sr. said, whether they're applauding or booing, they better be buying souvenirs, because souvenirs is what, fueled the sport to be able to make it healthy.
How can people get in contact with you?
The Winston Cup Museum has a website that you can go on to. It's winstoncupmuseum.com, and the museum is open right now Thursday through Saturday from 10 to 5. We do events. We do everything from birthday parties to different type of corporate events, weddings. So it's very accommodating. We set up, and we can put 150 people in the museum. We cater food, so there's lots of options. We have an outdoor space. So just all you have to do is go to the website, winstoncupmuseum.com. It gives you all the information, contact.
In your own words, what advice would you give to kids?
I think that for me, just like with the museum, you don't ever start anything you don't plan to finish. So don't put the money first, and if you do those two things, you'll succeed in life.
Well, thank you for the interview.
Well, thank you for coming to the museum, and my wife Christy, thank her for tolerating me. I always tell her that this is the cheapest warehouse space in town.
And thank you guys for watching. Be sure to give us a like, subscribe, and comment your favorite type of car. And until next time.
Until next time, or the next time, we'll have these two young men in the driver's seat of a car. How about that?